Everyone has access to our materials on Red Crow. I'm going to go over a bunch of information here. But first and foremost, I want to just start everybody off with an exercise. Make sure everyone in the back's awake. So everyone just take 2 fingers, right? Get it onto your radial artery on your wrist and check for your pulse. Does everybody have it? Well, if you don't worry. The fact that you're looking is probably a good chance that you have one. And the fact that you have one means someday our technology could save your life. So I'm going to start my presentation here, a little bit of a backstory. It's a big number here, 51.4%. This is a self-reported number by the U.S. Army of those soldiers who did not come home from Iraq and Afghanistan that were deemed potentially survivable. This is their own terminology. And over 90% of those cases came down to one thing. That was a lack of field triage. So I'm headquartered in San Diego, very big military town. This number is very personal for me. I actually know a couple people who end up in this number. And it just got my team motivated, right? So with initial research, we cavalierly said we can move forward and try to save some of these folks and move forward. So what we did is we developed a solution that really works in the austere environment of the battlefield. So we can monitor non-invasively the vital signs for those folks who are in multiple casualty field triage, so anything pre-hospital. We can do what's called prolonged field care. This is a very big scenario as we're pulling back from foreign environments. We don't have forward operating bases or hospitals anymore. So sometimes we have to actually keep and sustain a patient for upwards of 90 hours until a medevac can actually come and extract them. Similarly, with the military, they have different angles. What they want to do is sometimes they want to have it from point of injury, like the 2 cases I described. And in some cases, it's actually all the time. So while you're on maneuvers to monitor things like heat stroke, exhaustion, different things like this. And as we developed our solution, we took a step back and we realized, well, what is this thing that we've actually put together? It has tons of applicability in the civilian world as well. So what we're seeing here is a simulation of a multiple casualty scenario in the civilian world, where today you have paper tags that go on different folks, multiple ambulances have to come out. There's a lot of rigmarole that goes into this process, where what we can do is we can actually diagnose each patient, do a force rank for triage. We also looked at this and said, what about outpatient surgery? So we have a device that monitors folks when they're outside of the hospital. How does that work? It works really well in our case. And then we started looking at telemedicine. There's going to be a lot of talk about telemedicine here in the next few days. And I don't want to downplay what telemedicine is, but it's a lot of teleconferencing today. Every time you go into the doctor's office, there's going to be somebody checking your blood pressure, checking your temperature. How about having auditable, verifiable vital signs data when you are communicating with your physician via telemedicine approaches? So as we really looked at this, we decided what we've come up with here is a non-invasive vital signs monitor for human beings doing things that human beings do. So we can monitor patients while they are in trauma. We can monitor patients while they're in recovery. We can monitor athletes while they're playing sports. We can monitor whole teams of people with what's going on. And so when we really took a step back, what we really came to the conclusion is we've built something that could potentially be as ubiquitous as a Band-Aid. What we have here is our device. So we adhere to the back of the ear and to the neck. I can leave this here for you folks. Pass this around. And what we have out of this device is we can actually ascertain what I'll call the 5 major vital signs. This is industry first, cuffless blood pressure, pulse oximetry, heart rate, respiratory rate, and core body temperature. On top of that, there's a full suite of calculated variables that we can do, things like HRV, VO2 max, different things like that. All this can then be submitted to a BYOD device, so bring your own device. We can securely go to any application. What we're seeing here is the triage application that we're using with the military. So again, bring in all that information, do that force rank, do the triage. We have a 124-point algorithm to go through, and we can actually have the different physicians or medics actually tune it to how they want to see this go. For a third pillar, what we did, we actually put together a cloud solution. So how can we have a remote physician be on the case in this field triage scenario? How can we have this be in the civilian world? How can we connect in telemedicine? How can we order that helicopter to come out and order people? How can we secure beds in a hospital? Things like this. And for a fourth pillar, we built an AI platform. So we have all this data, and this is a data set that has not historically been available. So the priority is obviously how do you keep people alive, How do you triage them? There hasn't been a large opportunity space to actually ascertain this data. So there's a lot of things that we can do with what's coming out of this. We're working with the Army right now. We already have strong correlations to show that we can show internal hemorrhaging. That's just the first step. So ultimately, what we've done is build a solution to save lives. So when we first approached the military, we got a lot of good feedback, a lot of good traction. With that, we have developed partnerships. And so what we're trying to do here by coming to this conference is build those partnerships, build out and reach out to the civilian world as well. And the number one thing that we saw a correlation between these two is that there's certainly an opportunity space for a device like ours. We have a very strong team. We have multiple entrepreneurial experiences, multiple med device successful exits as well. So from that, we feel very comfortable with the team that we've assembled. Speaking of that traction a little bit, so over the first 3 years of existence, we went through, actually did our research, developed our product, built our company, secured our patent portfolio, pitched to South by Southwest, won Mass Challenge Texas. This past year, closed our seed round, completed our miniaturization. Talk here about strategy. So we're right now working with SEAL Team 5 in San Diego, Ranger Regiment 75 out of Fort Benning, Georgia. They have an interesting opportunity for us because they can buy our solution pre-FDA, then move into larger military, and then the civilian world. And thank you very much.